Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we've got a deep dive into a recent and rather concerning incident in the Baltic Sea, an event that has not only grabbed headlines, but also raised serious questions about the vulnerabilities of our global infrastructure and Russia's growing reliance on unconventional warfare tactics. Yes, we're talking about the sabotage of underwater cables between Sweden and Latvia, which many believe is a key part of Russia's hybrid warfare strategy. But before we dive in, let's get the facts straight. The Swedish Prime Minister, Ulf Kristersson, recently took to X, formerly Twitter, to announce that at least one crucial data cable linking Sweden and Latvia in the Baltic Sea had been severely damaged. And if that wasn't alarming enough, the Latvian Navy later confirmed that a suspicious vessel named San was spotted near the site of the sabotage. The ship was later reported to be heading towards Russia, raising serious concerns about the potential involvement of Russian assets in this operation. This incident occurred at a depth of about 50 meters within Swedish territorial waters. No easy feat to target. And here's the thing. This is far from an isolated event. Over the past several months, there have been multiple similar attacks on underwater cables in the Baltic region, including other telecom and energy lines vital to European infrastructure. So, what's going on here, and why should we be worried? Let's talk about what we mean when we say hybrid warfare. Russia has been utilizing this strategy more and more in recent years, especially since the invasion of Ukraine. And no, it's not just tanks and missiles on the ground. Hybrid warfare is a combination of traditional military tactics with non-traditional methods like cyberattacks, economic sanctions, and even sabotaging infrastructure, all designed to weaken the opponent without necessarily engaging in full-scale war. In the case of the Baltic Sea cable sabotage, we're seeing Russia essentially waging a silent war by targeting vital infrastructure, whether it's telecom cables, energy pipelines, or other communication systems. Russia is making a direct strike at the lifeblood of modern societies, aiming to disrupt everything from communication networks to energy supplies. And the real kicker, these attacks are hard to trace, harder to respond to, and harder to prevent. The concept of a silent war makes it much more difficult to take direct action, and that's exactly what Russia is counting on. Now, let's take a closer look at the broader geopolitical context of these cable attacks. The Baltic Sea has become a flashpoint for Europe's security. It's a vital region that connects Eastern and Western Europe via cables and pipelines that power much of the continent's communication and energy. These cables are essential for everything from business operations to national security, and the attack on them is a direct challenge to Europe's infrastructure. The sabotage is not just an inconvenience. It's a direct strike at the heart of European economic stability. What's even more worrying is how this fits into Russia's broader strategy. In recent years, Russia has repeatedly used these hybrid warfare tactics in its dealings with Europe, from hacking into critical infrastructure to spreading misinformation and using energy as a weapon. Russia is testing the resolve of Western nations in a way that's difficult to counter. After all, how do you defend against something as insidious as an attack on communication and energy cables that are submerged in the ocean and difficult to access? It's not a conventional battle. And that's the point. In response to this growing threat, NATO and EU nations have started ramping up their defenses. In January, NATO announced a patrol mission to monitor the Baltic Sea and protect underwater infrastructure. This involves deploying aircraft, naval vessels, and even drones to keep an eye on suspicious activity. The goal here is clear. Make sure these underwater cables, which are so crucial to European energy and communication, aren't left exposed to further sabotage. The European Union also weighed in on the situation, with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stating that the resilience and security of our critical infrastructure is absolutely essential. It's a clear sign that Europe is recognizing the growing vulnerability of its infrastructure and is now putting up a stronger defense against this kind of covert warfare. And make no mistake, this is a wake-up call for both Europe and the broader Western world. If these attacks are left unchecked, they will only continue to escalate. Now, let's talk about what this means for the future. The Baltic Sea cable sabotage is a warning shot, but it's also part of a larger pattern that we've seen in recent months. In late 2023, cables between Finland and Estonia were also sabotaged. Earlier in 2023, similar incidents occurred off the coast of Sweden. This ongoing trend underscores a serious threat to Europe's energy and communication networks. And it's not just about one or two cables, it's about the very infrastructure that keeps modern society running. These attacks may not always cause immediate widespread panic, but they create an underlying instability. They chip away at public confidence in the security of vital infrastructure, and they force countries to rethink their defense strategies. If these attacks continue, we might see greater instability across Europe, disruptions in trade, energy shortages, and a general sense of insecurity among the public. That's exactly what Russia wants, to undermine confidence, sow discord, and make it harder for European nations to stand united. In the long run, these acts of sabotage will likely prompt more aggressive countermeasures. We'll see countries doubling down on cyber defense, improving infrastructure security, and investing in more robust surveillance systems to monitor these vital cables. But there's a bigger question we all need to ask ourselves. Can we really defend against this new kind of warfare? The traditional military strategies we've relied on for centuries might not be enough in this digital age. And here's something else to consider. Hybrid warfare isn't just a military tactic. It's an ideological weapon. By undermining the security and trust that people have in their governments and infrastructure, Russia is slowly eroding the foundation of democratic societies. This isn't about just winning a war, it's about winning the hearts and minds of people, creating chaos, and weakening the resolve of Western nations. And in this new era of warfare, it's becoming more and more difficult to tell where the front lines really are. So, what can we do about it? For one, we need to stay informed. We need to understand that the landscape of conflict is changing and that wars won't always look like the ones we're used to seeing in history books. The best defense against hybrid warfare is a well-informed public, vigilant governments, and international cooperation. Europe needs to continue strengthening its defenses, not just in the Baltic Sea, but across all its critical infrastructure. Alright, that's it for today's deep dive into the Baltic Sea cable sabotage and the ongoing threat of hybrid warfare. What do you think? Is this the new face of war, or just a passing phase? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date on the latest global security issues. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.